Hi, everyone, and welcome to the resumption of the Being Healthy live stream. And today we've got a special guest. This is somebody I've known for quite a while, and it's such a pleasure to introduce Kimberly May to you all. Kimberly's in the state of Kentucky. For those of you who are lucky to have her there, welcome, Kimberly, and please just let the audience know about you. And you will need to unmute yourself first, Kimberly, please. Thank you.
Yeah, let's do that. Hi, I'm Kimberly May. Been in the integrative health world for about 30 years. I got into wellness out of being in the fast food business. I went from fast food to wellness and had, like a lot of us, had to get sick first to learn how to eat right and live right. And so I'd like to share about that today.
And would you let us know your definition of wellness as you understand it now, having gone from being ill, from the mainstream version of life, which is being ill, popping pills, to what you now see as wellness?
Energetically alive and free to move and express and love and give without restriction. No hindrance in the body, mind, or spirit. Yeah. Just free to
Continue, please. Continue.
Yeah,
Let
yeah.
us know how you came to this. Let us know what sickness, what brought you to this. Just this is your time to shine, Kimberly.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you, Dory. And it's a thrill to be with you. And yeah, so I had been working in the fast food business. Really, when I look back, I had half of my life somehow in fast food. And then the other half has now been in wellness. But I worked in fast food, I worked in restaurants, I ate a lot of the bad food, the quick food and soft drinks, and was living a very stressful life with not getting enough sleep and not getting enough exercise and just eating the things that were around me that were easy to get to. Um, Luckily, I did eventually escape to a spa that had an integrative health center where I met Dr. Wong and some other wonderful physicians who talked to me about lifestyle changes in mind, body, and spirit, managing my stress and looking at my adrenal fatigue and all the different things that were going on with me. At the time, I was in well, I guess I was early 30s and I was trying to get pregnant and I couldn't. I had a lot of things that were just not working for me. So learning to return to some of my roots, because, I grew up, my family always had a garden and we ate very healthy. My mom was pretty much a vegetarian. So we ate a lot of fruits and vegetables. I can remember being a child and climbing trees and eating plums and being outside all day and just eating a tomato or a plum and being very happy with that, and just playing all day, and making art and doing wonderful things. So it took getting sick to wake up and start remembering that I did know what to do, and to slowly did do a transformational workshop that had me look at my life. And I decided I was going to leave the corporate world, which was really stressing me out, and to follow my heart and to do what I really wanted to do, which in my free time with trying to get well, I started studying health and wellness and taking classes and looking at ways to be more self-expressed. So I just eventually wrote my resignation letter and decided that I would pursue my dream that was in my heart to help others and to live a healthy life. And I would write about it all the time, but eventually I just had the courage to delve into it, and was lucky enough to get to work at Fox Hollow Clinic and spa and meet some wonderful, fabulous people, which is where I met Dorit. We put a wonderful couple of workshops together. Uh, and I'll never forget, Dorit, the fabulous food that you prepared and taught us how to prepare. And I remember you coming to my house here in Kentucky, and we have wonderful gardens here. And luckily, my husband grew up doing farming and grew up growing vegetables and fruits. And so, really, just the gift of having that. Like today, I could have a fresh tomato and a fresh squash and things that came right here from our gardens. And, we have like growing right now a fig tree in our backyard. And we're just every day grateful to go out and celebrate and pick those things and really balance our life now from the way that it used to be, with the running and trying to get ahead and then just eating whatever, you can get your hands on at the time. Now it's really about what is the most nutritious and most supportive thing I can do for my body. So I really am grateful that my life has come to this place. And my passion is teaching this to other folks, to meet them where they are and help them to listen to their heart, to get quiet. I was lucky enough to be introduced to the heart math process through Dr. Wong and learn to go inside and listen to my heart and listen to my body and what does my body need today, and to slow down and truly listen and nurture myself. So I believe that all of us, especially me, I have all the answers that I need when I slow down and be still and just listen. And my body is telling me what it needs and what is best for me in that moment. So I'm so grateful for that transformation and to get to share that with other people on a daily basis is really my dream and my passion. And I will do that till I leave the planet, because that is what I'm here to do.
And
No
you have
doubt.
you have another certification. Could you talk about that one too?
Yeah, well, I have many. I also am trained in something called Havening, and Havening is designed to put you in a safe place. So it is used to help release trauma or stress from the brain and the body. And there's some beautiful aspects to Havening that I'll talk about it a little bit. It was designed by a Harvard physician, Ron Rudin, who was looking at what caused trauma to get stuck in the brain. And he said, well, if we figure out why it gets stuck in there, how do we get it out? And how do we release it? And he had written a book, several books, but he came to this place of helping people learn to release these traumas. The thing I like about the Havening techniques, and Paul McKenna, who's one of the top hypnotherapists in the world, he said it is one of the quickest ways to release trauma from the brain. So there is a self-havening aspect. So you work with a practitioner to release traumas, but there's a self-havening process that is very gentle. And if you feel stressed or anxious, you can do this. And so I'll just show you now a few of the hand placements that you can do to calm the neurons in the brain. And so one of them, which is very intuitive, is just where you can do it like this, where you're rubbing your hands. You can do it this way, or you can do it like going in a circle. And they call it Prozac for the palms. And then you can also do this on the face. So it's like washing the face. And the face has one of the highest response rates. And so we kind of do these things like when we get stressed anyway, like you hold your face or you kind of wring your hands. And the other one is on the arms. So you start at the top of the shoulders and you come down to the elbow. And this can feel like a hug. So sometimes we just need a hug. And, I've done this in the car, not while driving, but, maybe at a stoplight or a red light. And, maybe you're in a meeting and you feel anxious and you could do the hands like that under the table. So this calms the neurons in the brain. And the process itself, if you were going to release some, let's say, childhood trauma or lifelong trauma, for instance, for me, I had a phobia that I'd had from a car accident that I'd had in my late 20s. So I had claustrophobia from being trapped in that car. And I had that for a long time. And in, let's say I trained in Havening in 2017. So around that time is when I used that process to release my claustrophobia. And it worked and I got rid of it. So that is really why I wanted to train in it so that I could teach it to others so that they could be freed up. So I use that on a regular basis with my clients. And I have 4 or 5 other certifications, all either in wellness or functional nutrition or in the realm of releasing things that hold us back. So I recently did one in spirit release therapy. So it's like an energetic release to clear the body and your home of energies that you may pick up, So I think it's very important to watch our words and thoughts and energy and protect that, and really working with choosing love over fear on a regular basis. It's easy to get caught up in fear and worry and stress. And that's for me. So I'm always looking for things that help me to release that and stop the thoughts that can get, stuck in our brain. I recently heard someone talking about if you have thoughts that get stuck in your brain and you don't want them there, to name your brain, like give it a name, and then say, like, for instance, Eleanor, we're not thinking that today. We're going to focus on this today. We're going to focus on what is good and what's going well and what we want more of. Because, if we really think about our thoughts, so this is, I actually have this on a t-shirt. It says, watch your thoughts because they become your words. Watch your words because they become your actions. Watch your actions because they become your character. And then your character is basically your destiny or who you become. So it all starts with the words. And so I had a very powerful lesson with the words in watching what I said. When I was 19, I had a series of what seemed like disasters. I went to work and there was a padlock on the door and I couldn't get in. I found out the company had been closed because our boss was doing some illegal things that I was unaware of. So no paycheck coming in on Friday. So I was driving around trying to look for another job. And I remember telling my sister that night that, it was pretty bad and it probably couldn't get any worse. Well, then a guy rear-ended me and totaled my car. So then I couldn't drive my car. So I said again to her, it probably can't get any worse. And then my landlord called and I told him I wasn't going to be able to pay the rent because I wasn't going to have a paycheck coming in. And he said, well, you have 2 weeks or you're going to be evicted. And so again, I said to my sister, I don't think it could get much worse. And she said, I think you need to stop saying it can't get any worse, because the universe is showing you every time you say that it could and absolutely is getting worse. So one thing you will not hear me say is that, I'm using it as an example today, but really learn the power of our words to create our reality, and watching our thoughts. And, we are the director of the movie. So we are in charge of projecting out what it is that we want to see. So every day I say, Divine Spirit, show me the way to serve you greater today. Help me see things through the eyes of love. And we really get more of what we're looking for. So, I see hearts all the time, and I see love, because I'm asking to see it. And I do believe we can create heaven on earth with our thoughts and with our lifestyle choices, with choosing beautiful ways to get in nature every day, to see the miracle of the flowers that are blooming. I picked this in my backyard just before I got on this call. And every day I go and look for those miracles, and the flowers are blooming, the birds are singing. I get to pick herbs and a tomato or some beautiful, very soon, figs from my backyard, which I'm excited about. And that is a big difference from the life I was living before, where I was going at a fast pace and choosing to put myself in a job that wasn't fulfilling. And, Dorit and those listening, I ended up really getting to live the life I love, and that was my choice. I got to shift that, and every day it's my choice to have that life and to share that life with others. And it's a lot to do with my mindset and my choices, and I'm the captain of the ship. I'm directing it. So in keeping my energy high is very important to me in meditation, and finding ways to be around people that are doing the same as me. I'm involved in several groups that are wellness related and about mindset. Every week I work with that so that I'm around people that are doing the same as me, that are really wanting to live their very best life and to be self-expressed and well and happy, and working on our thoughts every day and our actions, and choosing love over fear.
So this is really interesting, because I actually, this Sunday, I spent a great deal of this Sunday looking for figs because fig season was supposed to have started. And I was like, I've got to find some figs. My body's been craving figs. Kimberly, I might just show up on your door uninvited.
I wish you would. And, Dorit, I remember when you were here and our asparagus bed was blooming, and you picked the asparagus, and it was really tall, and you walked around with it like it was your friend, and you held it, and you looked at it, and I kept thinking, is she going to eat this asparagus? and really you were just present with the asparagus, and it took you a while. And then eventually, and you said, well, this is going to be my lunch. And I watched you, and you were so mindful. You related with this asparagus, and then you eventually took a few bites of that asparagus, and so you were so mindful about it. And that I never forgot that.
I never eat that with which I do not connect and ask its permission first.
Yeah, you did. I remember that. And then we were going to do this cooking. Well, really, it's not cooking, but we were on a TV segment thing that was a cooking show, I believe. Anyway,
on cooking, UN cooking show.
Right, exactly. But anyway, you and I were going to do this demo at this health food store called wild oats. This was around 2005, I think. And we were preparing Thai coconuts and soaking things and getting everything ready. And we made the most fabulous food that I'll never forget. But the next day, you and I were going to go on this news segment, and they were supposed to have all the fruit and everything ready for us, but they didn't. They had like plastic fruit in a bowl. And you were like trying to act like you were going to do something with it. But anyway, it was hilarious. So then we ended up doing yoga instead because they didn't bring the fruit so that we could, do the demo we were going to do. But you led us in some yoga instead, and you stood on your head.
On the spur of the moment, I think it was Fox News or NBC, something like that.
Yes.
On the spur of the moment, they said to me, "Will you do a headstand?"
Yeah, and you
Fortunately,
did.
I was not wearing a dress, and I was able to do it right on camera, right then and there, without asking. They didn't tell me before.
I know, but I had a dress on, and I remember thinking,
Yes.
how am I going to do this yoga? But you did it, and it was great. And then the food that you prepared for those retreats, I'll never forget it. It was just amazing. The most alive and delicious and incredible porridge with the Thai coconut and the figs and
macadamia
everything.
nuts, my
Yes.
macadamia nut porridge.
It's amazing. And yeah, just it was so much fun and the best food and energetically such a beautiful experience for me. I'll never forget it. And I'm so grateful we got to have that experience together. And your presence and your mindfulness with the food, I remember really well, and that relationship, which I do think is so important. What I saw in fast food working there, and I was a teenager and I was working with teenage boys, and they did really weird things to food. I'll just say, like if they dropped a burger, they just put it back on the bun, or just things that I remember thinking, I don't like the idea of eating food that someone is in a hurry and, they're taking it out of a box and from the freezer and then going into a microwave and really, I think that was the start of me starting to get sick because I would just eat that food because it was available, to me. But later, and I still think about it all the time, is I would much rather be in control, that energetically I can bless my food and really be aware of what's in it and choosing it and loving it and nurturing it, as you grow it. You've I noticed with my grandchildren, my grandson, once we were out at the garden and he said, Gigi, that's what they call me. Can we go to McDonald's for after we leave here? And I said, no, we're not going for fast food. Gigi doesn't eat fast food anymore. So we had picked broccoli and tomatoes, and I just handed him a spear of broccoli. And I'll never forget it. And I have a picture of him. He sat back there and he ate that whole thing of broccoli, and he was so happy. He didn't ask anymore to go, he was so satisfied with that fresh broccoli. But what I noticed with them is if they planted it, they were so more involved with it and happy to eat it. It was like, oh, this is the tomatoes we grew. And to this day, they both still, I have grand twins, love tomatoes and broccoli. And when they're here, for me, it is about teaching them healthy habits. But I think, starting simple for people, and even with kids, it's so important to let them have this connection to the earth and to see that they can grow something. And then they seem so much more excited to eat it, and not like I don't want to eat broccoli, but like, they are excited because they helped grow that. And that's been really fun to watch them as they've grown up with that. But I'm very fortunate because my husband loves to garden, and we have two 20 by 20 plots at a community garden, but we also have a lot of land here in Kentucky where we grow a lot of things. But he works endlessly every night on the soil on our property. And so he's constantly composting and revitalizing the soil so that we can grow healthy food. And, it's really like a teamwork. And then, I always say, when in doubt, get the fruits and vegetables out. I don't always know what the meal is going to be, but it's like, well, we have this stuff coming in, so let's do something with that right now. So we just cleared a couple of beds in our garden. We'll be putting out lettuce for fall and
So
some
I think
kale
you
and
you you
chard.
were okay. So you were freezing a bit. That's why I came on, and I wanted to say go back to something you said that was I thought was very important, and that is, and I've said this in many of my workshops when I travel for book tours, which I'm going to start doing again when my the Being Healthy book is released.
Great. Yay. Yeah.
When you grow your food, you end up having a relationship with the food.
Yes.
When children are taught to grow their food, you see, I, as a child, this reason why I'm this way was I was at a garden. Now, I was not permitted to to be in the vegetable or fruit garden. Fruit. I was always at the front where we had the flowers.
Oh.
But my heart was always in the back. So I would sneak in every day I had to water the front, but I would always go there and talk to them. And what I find is if we go to a store called a grocery store or a supermarket
Mhm.
and we buy things from there, we go home, we put it in a fridge, we forget we have it, and most of it ends up being spoiled. There's a reason why, it's because there's no personal relationship with it. When you grow your own food, you never, ever, ever waste food. I have found that to be true across the board.
You're right. Hmm. Yeah. Well, you've put so much into it, and there it finally is. It's ripe. You finally get a ripe tomato, right? And you're so excited. It's really a celebration to have that, and it tastes so different. The live enzymes and the colors. I'm an artist, so a lot of times, like today, I was just chopping and preparing a salad. Um, with tomatoes and squash and things from my garden. But a lot of times I'll look at it and I'll think, oh, it's got too much green. It needs red. So then I want some, tomato there to balance the green. And so colors, I think, I always tell people because they get so confused about what to eat. And I say the closer to nature, the better. The processed stuff is really what got me sick. And realizing the things that, like, as a child, I loved pasta. I remember loving pasta. I loved spaghetti. I think I liked the tomato sauce more than I liked the pasta. But anyway, I would eat too much and I would say, look, I have a pasta baby. My belly would swell out every time I ate the wheat. And eventually I had allergy tests and I was shown that I was allergic to wheat. So I know we do in this world a lot of things to our wheat and to our fruits and vegetables that um, make me sad, the pesticides and things. But we do have the power to grow our own things and control that. And that makes me feel really good that I can do eat. And so I tell people, get a pot and put it on your patio and put a tomato plant in there or some herbs. Start very small, but start. You can grow something, and you can grow things in your windowsill. There's just so many little things we can do. But if not, you can have relationships with local farmers and support them, and really find a lot of joy in just eating what's in season and finding ways to have relationships to support those people. I love our community garden at the Parklands because, if I have a lot of Swiss chard and somebody else has a lot of tomatoes or whatever, it's like, hey, do you want to trade? And so we do that. So you have that community aspect to it, which is wonderful. So if you don't have land, you can be a part of a community garden or support your local farmers, and just start with that, and that's a good way to do it.
And very often, especially when you have children or grandchildren, the farmers will allow you to come and pick your
Mm-hmm.
own, especially during berry season. They're glad to have people come and pick their own. And so you can make that an outing as well. So, yes, and I want to thank Lisa White for her comments here. And I really like this comment that she made, which is miracles are everywhere. You just need to look. I think
Yeah.
I think that not only are miracles everywhere, but we are the miracle that we're looking for as well. We just have
Mm.
not found ourselves yet. And the whole idea of being healthy, both the book and this live stream, is to remind us that health is not something that we achieve. It's something that we become, and it keeps needing to be refreshed and
Mm.
renewed. And we need to grow more and more into this part of ourselves. You cannot become healthy. That's why I call it being, Being, healthy, because it's a process. And
So true.
I'm going to bring Lisa in here, Kimberly. We're going to mute ourselves for a moment. I'm going to bring
Okay.
in Lisa. Lisa, I know you can relate to this.
First of all, I just love the Prozac for the palms. That was just magical. And also, I also worked in fast food, and I understand so much of your own journey to go from essentially a sickness into transforming into wellness and vitality, and also just this stream that Dorit has created to transmit all of the knowledge and the people that she brings and magnetizes to share with our viewers and transform the world around us. I'm just grateful we're back and grateful for this conversation, because I really feel that the mindset piece is always something that I love to come back to. And you, just by sharing your heart, Kimberly, it really just really impacted me in such an infinite way. So thank you again for being a part of our community and transmitting your love. I'm grateful.
Lisa, do you know anything about heart math?
I do. I was trained in that. And it's interesting that you talked about it, because it's like something I, at the time, kind of when I was trained in it, I kind of glossed over it. And I think that's something that I've really been looking at. I tend to be more drawn to other modalities. Like I love Havening. I got introduced to that through Paul McKenna, like you mentioned. And it really, really gave me insight into how much is in the body, right? Because we've talked about this on other podcasts, that I tend to be in my head. And that you reminded me that I need to take another look at heart math again, because the body is definitely the wisdom.
Yes, indeed. The body is the reservoir of everything that we've ever learned and every experience we've ever had. I don't know if Pete is able to come on. Pete is in the UK. I know that they were freezing. Pete, if you can come on, just unmute yourself and come on, please.
Okay. Yeah. Can you hear me okay?
Lisa, thanks for.
Okay.
Yes, please go ahead, Pete.
Yeah, but it's, well, it's great to be back, and well done, Dory. You're doing a magnificent job. And you're, hi, Lisa, and Kimberly, your story is so beautiful. I was kind of just chilling, relaxing in the chair by hearing your voice, your presence. And it's just like you two are just casually talking. So that presence really come across really beautiful, so thank you for that. And what a beautiful story. You mentioned, yeah, most of us have come to this place from an illness or from recognizing that something's not right. So, and what I have noticed, you have quite a lot of modalities to sustain it. This is what I found in life, because one or two kind of doesn't really cut the mustard, should I say. So I have 3 or 4 and played around with a few others. I discipline to a couple and then make that my ritual every day, and then, like you mentioned about the word, how powerful that is in our thinking. So it is such a symbiotic relationship and a holistic relationship. So that's what I put across to people and friends, and you can see why I can look back on my journey, why I kind of fell back. Sometimes it feels like 1 step forward, 2 steps back. So it's so beautiful for me 19 years ago coming across the food, because I did have other modalities from 26 years before that, and but didn't have the food awareness, and I would say the experience to actually ground. It's more theory. And then, so it's beautiful working with that 19 years ago to just get where I am now, and recognizing, yes, in a state of fight or flight. And then you are fast running. So you have fast food and drive your car fast, whatever, you're very much in that motion. So it's so beautiful to slow down. I did have an experience once where, if someone offered me, just in terms of £1 million, for not experiencing some of the experiences I have had, I would turn them down flat, because you really get to see the illusion of money, nothing to say wrong with it. We can decide whatever we choose to decide. Energy is energy. And I love how you bring in kind of natural law, quantum physics. We are the character, we are the architects, we project. So all our imprinting from our parents and surroundings. So it's really amazing for me, kind of defragging a lot of that to get to a truer essence of me. And if I hadn't had so-called tricky experiences or difficult experiences, I would have never known that I had that connection in my teens. I could just see me running, and would have never known. And I look back and it's like, wow, I was very connected. So it's so beautiful to get back to that essence, that a remembrance of me. And I won't even say surpass, just to be friends with that aspect of me. And like you mentioned, a lot of protocols to clear the stuck energy in our body, in our mind, and to clear some of the shock to our electric system, our energy system. So it's great, this platform, and it's great more, the more we have to share these beautiful stories, and I think is very positive for people to listen in and to take notes and receive whatever you really need to receive. But what I've heard so far, it's all there for anyone to jump on the path, really, of self-realization and have a better life, really. And we are the co-creators. We manifest and we be accountable for everything that's happening, so we can change the thought pattern, like you were saying. It's amazing. I've had quite a few experiences like that. Couldn't get any worse. It's like, or it comes in threes, and we're just basically self-fulfilling prophesizing, So once we realize that, we shift that then mantras to positive mantras, love, and everything's fine, everything's great, and what a beautiful day. And we do gratitude before we eat our food, for for 4 or 5 years, and our youngest one joins in. And you mentioned about the food as well, Dory. Yes, I mean, our Amber, in the summer we were spending hours. She's planting the seeds, she's watering it with her mum and me, and so there's such a connection. So when she eats it, she's seeing the transition, and then it's on the plate, and we do our gratitude, grateful for the sun, grateful for the earth, grateful for the rain, and grateful, for the abundance that we have. So it's beautiful to bring that to the children as well. So
Thank you, Pete, for that. I'm going to actually bring Kimberly on in a moment again, but I wanted to touch on what you just said last, and especially what Kimberly said about her husband, who I had the pleasure, of course, of meeting, thank goodness, that he spends all this time in the evenings in the garden working with the soil. So I have always felt since I was a child that one can tell the values of any group of people or community depending on the health of the soil, because they're interrelated. It's not just because we need the HSOs in the soil, and when you grow things like hydroponic and all the ways that people are growing things now, you don't have the HSOs from the soil in it, the homeostatic organisms in the soil at all. But our health or well-being, mental, physical, emotional health and well-being is totally related to the health of the soil. We breathe it in. We don't even realize it, but even the air we breathe has an aspect of the soil in it. Nothing doesn't touch the soil. And rain touches the soil, the sun touches the soil. We touch the soil. Well, we used to touch the soil. Now we don't even walk barefoot anymore. So there's no grounding into the soil. A lot of our health, especially the mental health, because mental health starts in the body as physical health, or lack of it first. Then it becomes emotional and mental. It starts with the soil. And I think when we have people like your husband who spend so much time in the soil, to me, those are the people that fascinate me and who I like to be around and who I like to speak with, because they have that deep connection with the living soil, and therefore they have a connection with life itself. Because all life, there's a huge amount of life going on in the soil. There's a film, it's a Japanese film, a very old film, that is called The Living Soil, and it shows how much activity is present in the soil, how many creatures that we don't even know about, they're in the soil working on our behalf. I was so fascinated by that film that I watched it over and over and over. And then I felt I need to go outside and just roll myself into the soil. And then I remembered, no, I can't, because there's Roundup in the soil around me. So what do you do there in Kentucky, in your little plot of land? How do you counteract the problem that Roundup is everywhere? And when the rain comes, it will also wash down onto your home as well, and into the soil there, Kimberly?
Well, that's a great question. We do have our little slice of heaven. We kind of are in we back up, or the side of our property is woods, and there's a creek. And so we have the woods. So there's I know things are, probably coming our way, but we don't use any chemicals. So to your point, which first of all, I just wanted to say thank you to Lisa and Pete for the beautiful words and comments, and just the connection, and Dorit, just all of it is just so beautiful and heartwarming, and just makes me want to cry. But thank you all for your sharing and your beautiful words and acknowledgments. I wanted to not skip that. But the soil itself, so my husband is always working with the soil. He is putting the leaves from the tree back into the compost, into the soil, revitalizing it. If we're at the garden, if we pull up weeds from, or even let's say the crop has finished its cycle, he will put those back in the ground because he's like, there's nutrients in those roots. So we don't want to throw those away. We want to put them back in the ground. And what are we going to do to nurture it? So he's always bringing compost from our house in different ways to nurture that soil back. I think a lot of our neighbors are always trying to figure out, what is he doing out there? Because he's always digging. I always say he's digging a hole, but he is nurturing that soil so that when we go to plant, and since we don't spray anything, we do have a lot of wild things growing, like wild violets. And, there was a famous German herbologist, Hannah Kroger, and she would say, nature gives you what you need, and that she would know what was going on with someone with their health, with what was growing around their homes. And she would go out so dandelion roots, for instance, people think that's a weed, and dandelion root, as you all know, has tons of benefits. So she would say, okay, well, let's use this for the liver, and let's make a tea, or let's make a salad with it. So when something is perpetually growing in our area, like the clover, we leave it for the bees so that they can come and pollinate our plants, so that cycle is so beautiful. But I don't know if you all know Zach Bush, you probably do, but he was a physician and actually worked in hospice, and he's given up his titles and everything to work on the soil. And he makes a product called Ion, which is really like dirt water. And it's designed to help the gut and to help you with glyphosate. And that's why I'm bringing it up. And I think, we do need more exposure to soil. Like, I remember we had gardens and a farm at Fox Hollow, which they still have some of that going on there. And we would go out with the doctors and work in the fields there. And, you'd pick something and it would have dirt on it, and they would, just eat it. It was like, okay, we're there. And I thought, well, isn't this interesting? One of my colleagues said she went to an integrative medical conference recently. And one of the things they were talking about is how we're too clean, with all the sanitizers and the hand sanitizers, and kids are afraid of germs. And, so there's those nutrients from the soil. I mean, there's people that actually crave dirt because they're actually needing those nutrients from that soil. And like you mentioned, Dorit, with the hydroponic stuff, it is not coming out of the soil. It's being grown a different way with that process. So, but being able to give those nutrients back to the dirt and to the soil. And sometimes when I get overwhelmed with all of it, I just say, bless it, and, bless your food, and Pete talked about that, and do the best you can, because there's days I was so stressful in the past that I just came home and I would just lie in the grass and look at the sky. Like when you were a kid, you would do that. And I still put my feet in the grass every day, and ground every single day. I have a little, I call it our park. We have a park bench, and it looks like a little park. And I'll put my feet down in that grass every day and get grounded. And I feel so much better. And I do walk barefoot because we don't use chemicals. So if you can't do that, like under my computer, I have a grounding mat. And so there are other ways to do that. I know your concern about the chemicals is a valid one. But, at some point, I think the benefits of grounding and getting outside every day is really what a lot of us are missing. And I always say nature is the great equalizer, so you go outside. For me, it's like I go to the deck for a little while and I feel calm. If I go down to my park, which is a little further down, I feel even more peace. But if I go all the way down to where the woods are and there's a creek flowing, I really feel a greater peace in those trees and hearing the water. And so I think really having time with trees and water and plants and connecting to the earth, like we did as children, and having play, climbing trees. And I can remember I always wanted to climb trees and be up in the trees. And my dad finally built us a tree house. I was so happy. And, having that play and moving our body, just going outside and taking a wonderful walk, giving thanks, moving your body with joy to music, or just going out and being able to connect to the earth, Mother Earth, and giving thanks, for all the beauty that's around us, and celebrating that is what brings me joy. And being able to co-create with the Creator, whether it be growing vegetables, or whether it be creating a piece of art or a piece of poetry, or moving your body in dance or healing, to not get stuck on these screens. Where so much of our life now is connected to that, and just really balancing that, taking time to say no to the screens and going out and celebrating life and its beauty and its joy and its gifts, and that we're here, and we're all here to extend that love and co-create with the Creator. And we're all here at this time because we're all one. And together we have the solutions. I felt such a connection in talking with you all today. And so I think when people feel fear, what we really truly need is that connection and that return to love, and to see that it's really okay. It's just like, if I'm on this thing, it doesn't look so okay. So, but when I go outside, I feel great, and I see all the miracles, and I look at the sky and the clouds, and get in my heart and get still, and it's just that quick, with a breath and a gratitude and restoring my energy. And then I have, through good nutrition and good habits and practices, then I can extend more love and compassion. So I wrote a quote down today from Albert Einstein that I wanted to share, that our task must be to free ourselves by widening our circle of compassion to embrace all living creatures, the whole of nature in its beauty. And that's Albert Einstein. So, widening our circle of compassion to embrace all living creatures in the whole of nature in all its beauty. Albert Einstein.
Thank you for that, Kimberly. And I'm going to actually bring in another part of nature that I know has a huge impact on Lisa, who lives by the beach. Lisa, your sunsets.
Yeah, I just connected so much with how you talked about, you on your balcony, you feel more connected and calm. And as you inch your way towards the forest, you find even greater connection and joy and calm. And I connect with that as well. I grew up in the Northwest, and I was just there. And so the trees, the mountains, and the Puget Sound is just like a part of my DNA and a part of who I am, and where I truly thrive. But I also live on the ocean, and I deeply, profoundly connect with the ocean, with the tides, with the way the beach shifts during the seasons. And I just love to watch not only my experience, what I experience on it, but what expands my joy even further is watching how people interact with it and learning so much about them. You know, like the people that kind of are very cautious and fearful, and the people that just run and jump in. And I just think how much that's an allegory for life. Like some of us are very deliberate and more fearful and measured, and some of us just plunge right in, and none of it is right or wrong. It's just part of life, part of how life unfolds. So thank you for sharing what you shared. I just deeply was moved by your connection to nature and earth.
Thank you, Lisa. I'm going to bring on Pete. Would you like to wrap up for us, Pete?
It's you can hear me. Yes, it's beautiful to have you on, Kimberly, and really lovely hearing the stories. In terms of nature and composting, it's beautiful because it comes a reflection of ourselves. And then, I could look back in life and just say can't do this. I haven't got time. Got to work. Got to do this. And I look back, if I could pull myself out of that back then. We have got time. We make the time, we can make the time step by step, because it's a very treadmill we're on. If we are in that state, little bit by bit, you can get there, you can bring in, the vastness from just looking over the ocean, as opposed to just compact houses around and the woods, I always share that if we live in a very corpse reality, square buildings, grey buildings, you're going to become it. So if we live in nature, you're going to become it. You can become more part of it in one form or another. And the barefoot is beautiful. We do that daily. I had a picture, actually. I've probably got a quick... this is our daughter in the mud. Can you see okay?
No, we're not seeing anything. You're frozen, and we're not seeing anything at all.
Well,
we're not
when
seeing
when we was growing, basically, she'd be rolling in the mud. So we had to really look at our reactions. It's just like, oh my gosh, because the whole cleanliness and cleaning the veg. There she is with the mud on the carrot, chewing the carrot. So it's beautiful. So we learn so much from the children, and Kimberly mentions, there's so much nutrition there, so it's beautiful for everyone being in here. It's a solar eclipse tomorrow, so yes. I'm going to say this is part of it. I'm going to say we'll pick it up a little bit. So new beginnings, and we can really strive for better health and a better life. We can do it.
Yes, and it's huge. Tomorrow, astrologically, it's huge. We have 1 minute left. Thanks so much for reminding us, Pete, about tomorrow. It's not just a solar eclipse. This is something very unusual that rarely ever happens. We just have 1 minute for you. Please, Kimberly, want to thank you with all our hearts. And really, congratulations on not just deciding to live the life, but continuing with it.
Well, thank you for having me, and thank you to Lisa and Pete and all the listeners and all those who are starting again every day. And it's moment by moment, and a shift in perspective is a miracle. And so we just choose over and over to love ourselves.
Absolutely. Thank you so very, very much.